Hey guys, welcome back to Reserved Investments on YouTube. And just a little bit of commentary before we go forward. I need to do a review with you all. Please understand that the greatest risk to investing in collectibles in the year 2021, in the year 2022 and beyond, in my opinion right now, is the fact that a lot of you are buying into mass-produced scarcity when you should be going after organic collectability. And if you don't know the difference between the two, if you're investing long-term in any market, I don't care if it's rare coins, I don't care if it's artwork, I don't care if it's Pokemon cards, I don't care if it's video games, I don't care if it's Magic the Gathering. Whatever market you are choosing to attempt to invest in long-term, and you know my views on pop culture collectibles versus antiques, we're not even going in that direction in this video. What I am going to tell you is, if you do not understand the concept between mass-produced scarcity versus that of organic collectability, you are going to most likely lose money at some point. Now let's talk about this, because I put out a video on Flesh and Blood. I think the video was 25 minutes long. People liked my analysis. Some people hated my analysis. Some people were neutral to that particular video. But I got a lot of feedback. Hey, Sean, when are you going to do a video on Metazoo? And I honestly didn't want to go in that direction on this channel. I'm trying to actually swing back around and get to more high-profile antiques and other talking points that really teach the fundamentals of these markets. But everybody seems to be determinant that I do a video on Metazoo. If you read the comment section from that video, I think there was only like 1 or 2 people that told me, Sean, just avoid the market for Metazoo. You don't need to talk about it. It's not really going to do any good anyway. Just skip it entirely. Most of you, though, did reach out and said, Sean, for those of us that watch your channel and we're into the collectible card game space, we would like you to do a video on Metazoo. So I did change my mind, and I said, you know what? I'll put a video in Metazoo in production, which I'm currently in the planning stages right now. It'll probably launch sometime in the next 30 to 90 days on this channel. Who knows, given the fact how far I am behind on content right now. But it will hit at some point. And the one thing that I realized before I do that, we do have to have a candid discussion on this, because there's still a lot of people that do not understand the differences in risks of investing in items that have mass-produced scarcity versus organic demand. Now, I have done videos on this in the past, but I am going to do a quick review here for those of you unaware, or if you are new to this particular YouTube channel. If we get in my DeLorean time machine and we go back to 1963, and I take you to a newsstand, and there is a fresh mint copy of Amazing Fantasy 15 that features the first appearance of Spider-Man that just came off the press. If you tell me that you are going to, quote-unquote, speculate or invest in that comic book, I automatically know that you are from the future. Because back in 1963, very few people were speculating or investing in comic books back then. The first original Overstreet comic book price guide was not printed until 1970. So you were ahead of the curve if you pretty much had the foresight to pick up an Amazing Fantasy 15 off the newsstand, take it home, keep it in pristine condition, and attempt to speculate or invest in it over the short term or over the long term. Now, with that being said, where am I going with this? Well, a copy of Amazing Fantasy 15 back in 1963 was meant to be read and then most likely thrown away or possibly given to somebody else to read. It was not meant to be treasured. Today, the reason why that comic book, if in the higher condition grades, has a lot of value in the secondary market is due to organic collectability. There's a lot of people, even if they were alive back in 1963, they didn't have the foresight to keep that particular item in mint condition. And they certainly couldn't have, even if they wanted to, put it in a Mylar bag and board back in 1963, because those products didn't exist yet. Comic book collecting was not a mainstream hobby back in 1963. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's no different if we get in our DeLorean time machine and we go back to 1993 with Magic the Gathering, when an Alpha Edition Black Lotus first came on the market, nobody said, hey, I'm going to buy that card. I'm going to keep it near mint condition. And in 20, 30 years, it's going to be worth $500,000, $1 million or more on the secondary market. That particular card has organic collectability. It was not presented as a limited edition collectible back when it was first produced in 1993, because back when the alpha set first premiered, no one really knew and cared about Magic the Gathering. It just became a thing, and as a result today, if you happen to have that card and it is in near mint condition, you have a very valuable collectible in your collection that can be sold for a significant sum on the secondary market. Well, where am I going with this? Well, if we look at Flesh and Blood with the wonderful cold foils, if we look at some of the quote-unquote limited cards that are coming out of Metazoo that are selling for thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on the secondary market, you need to understand that those of you that are taking a risk paying that price for these particular items, thinking they're going to increase in value over the long term or even over the short term, you need to understand that, in my opinion, from somebody, let's forget about the fact that I'm educated in antiques and collectibles for a minute. Let me talk to you as somebody who is educated in economics, business, and finance. You are taking an extreme risk by going after those particular items right now. In the year 2020, in the year 2021, in the year 2022, the collectible marketplace is pretty much sitting in a massive bull market. As a result, anything that comes out, all that manufacturers have to do is they have to limit supply. And the Timmies, the Kimmies, the Poindexters, the market makers, the market manipulators, they'll do what it needs to do to get that particular item trending on the secondary market. Whatever they need to do to get that item that is perceived as quote-unquote rare to sell upwards of value on the secondary market, they're going to pry their craft. They're going to do what they need to do to get that trending. And that's where we're at right now in the overall collectibles market space. Rather than paying X thousands of dollars for a Flesh and Blood cold foil card, or even any of these quote-unquote rare limited edition Metazoo cards, you would be better off putting your money in an organic collectible rather than something that has mass-produced scarcity. This market is one that rests solely on speculation. You need to understand that there are no fundamentals right now that dictate what a cold foil Flesh and Blood card should be selling for in the year 2021 going into the year 2022. There are no fundamentals that dictate what any of these rare Metazoo cards should sell for. But I'm going to throw a bone to my vintage Pokemon collectors, my vintage Magic the Gathering collectors, and the like. You at least have several decades of price history if you want to make that same bet with something like an Alpha Edition Black Lotus, a vintage WotC Wizards of the Coast holofoil Pokemon card, an item of that nature that is not under the guise of mass-produced scarcity will always be a better bet and less of a risk than an item that was marketed solely with mass-produced scarcity. You need to understand these differences. Mass-produced scarcity versus organic collectability. Organic collectability is always better. It's just like when we talk about rare coins. When we talk about rare coins, we talk about condition rarities versus absolute rarities. I kind of touched on this in another video. I don't think I ever did a standalone video on this. It is coming. Condition rarities mean if you look at your average Morgan silver dollar, most Morgan silver dollars, even if they were released from the coveted Carson City Mint, most of those particular coins, I almost said cards because I'm thinking of Pokemon, most of those coins are not rare. However, if you have even the most common Carson City Morgan silver dollar issue and you have it in MS67, MS68 condition, you have what is called a condition rarity. If you're investing in coins for the long term, you are better off going after absolute rarities. What's the difference? An absolute rarity is something where maybe they mint it like several thousand of this particular denomination, this particular coin, and unfortunately throughout time, a lot of them were melted down to the point where there's only a handful of survivors. This is one reason why I love investing in high-grade proof gold coins. There's only X number out there. Some of those particular coins, they qualify as absolute rarities. Their rarity is not based on their condition. Their rarity is simply based on how many exist in the open marketplace. If you want to be a serious collector or investor or speculator in these markets, you must understand the differences between mass-produced scarcity versus organic collectability and condition rarity versus absolute rarity. That's how you analyze these markets from both a short-term perspective and a long-term perspective if you want to be successful operating in them. That's all I have for this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you already knew this, let me know. That way I don't have to waste my time releasing videos on certain concepts that I already introduced before on this channel. I would rather talk about new particular concepts that I have yet introduced or other topics on collecting. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.